the one and only. He's the maestro of the cricket game. Be proud of his great West Indian, hold him in esteem. He's the greatest cricketer the world has ever seen. Oh, he's the greatest cricketer the world has ever seen. Now listen, no man is an island, this we must agree. Anyone can make mistakes, even the great Gary. But look at the times he saved us, the many great innings he gave us. One day you will find he was a legend in his own time. Yeah, Gary Sobers, when you call his name, he's the one and only. He's the maestro of the cricket game. Yeah, be proud of his great West Indian, hold him in esteem. He's the greatest cricketer the world has ever seen.
I have some good spirit. Variety, chain, rum.
Good evening, everybody. This is Daniel Sober speaking, Sir Gary's youngest son. Betty had asked that I do some acknowledgement of appreciation for the event that you guys are putting on for this National Heroes Day, talking about my father. And I just thought I should, find the time to thank everybody for coming together and celebrating my father's life and his achievements. I'm his main caregiver at the moment, and he continues to fight on. And he has some good days and some not so good days, like we all do. But I just wanted to say thank you very much to Betty, to Sir Clive, to Mike for showing up, and just to everybody there, Gordon, Greenwich, Desmond Haynes, these amazing men that I have the honor and benefit to meet because of my relationship to my father. It's been a true blessing. But on behalf of Sir Gary, I would just like to say thank you so much for this acknowledgement, for continuing to observe his legacy, and just know that he battles on. He's fighting the good fight in the true test of life. And thank you all very much.
Hi Gary. Well, mate, 90th birthday not far off. Do you know, one of the questions I get asked all the time is, who's the best all-rounder? It's a simple answer. There's only one. That's Sir Garfield Sobers. My hero. I love watching you play. I think if you remember, we had one little encounter where I think you were playing for Notts right at the end of the season. I think it was your last season playing in former county cricket. But it would have been a pleasure to have played a lot more against you. Mate, you set the standard, and what can I say? I wish you could got over here for this little memorial. But when I'm back over in the Caribbean, I'll come banging on the door, and we might just have a glass or two. Well done, mate. Congratulations, Gary Sobers, the great.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Betty Lewis. I'm the Attaché for Diaspora Affairs, and I want to welcome you to the Barbados High Commission. At this time, I am going to ask you to please stand for the national anthem of Barbados. At this time, I'm going to ask you to please silence your phones, your mobile phones, because we are going live and we wouldn't want to hear phones going off while we are actually into the event. So thank you very much for that. I want to take this opportunity to welcome some special invited guests who are here this afternoon. And I'm going to start with Her Excellency, Laureen Banis Roberts. Welcome, Yuka. This is your first time here at the mission here with us as well. You've been here before? Okay, good. All right. I also have our Deputy High Commissioner here, Mr. Mackie Holder and Mrs. Holder. They're here. In my presence, or in our presence, I have Sir Gordon Greenwich. And Sir Gordon Greenwich is here as well. Mr. Collis King. I have Mr. Roland Butcher. There's also Mr. Calvin Hope, who's the president of the Barbados Cricket Association here in Barbados. I just saw Mr. Gladstone Small walked in, so he's here as well. So I want to extend a special welcome to these names. As we all know them, they're all cricketers. And that's something that we all like, and that's why we're here this afternoon. At this time, I want to formally welcome our High Commissioner, His Excellency Edmund G. Hinkson, SC, who will now come and give a few remarks to the proceeding.
It is a distinct pleasure and honor, and really and truly, to be in the company this afternoon of so many illustrious Caribbean cricketers. Sir Clive Lloyd is an icon, certainly one of the 2 or 3 best West Indies cricket captains ever, was instrumental in the West Indies winning the first 2 World Cups. 1975, when he himself scored 100, he did the hard work. And then, of course, in 1979, both, ironically, in this country, and one of the 2 certainly heroes of the 1979 victory, Mr. Collis King here, he and Sir Viv. He and Sir Viv, I remember, put on a lot of runs. Sir Viv scored 100 then, and Collis, when I told him I think he scored 86, he said, that's correct. And, of course, Sir Gordon Greenwich, one of the finest opening batsmen in the world, and who played in both of those 2 World Cups, which we won. And, of course, here with us, High Commissioner, my colleague, High Commissioner from a CARICOM country, with pleasure. Thank you for coming, ma'am. And, of course, we have our Barbados Cricket Association captain, president, as has been said, Mr. Calvin Hope. And I hear Mr. Roland Butcher is here as well, of course. Roland, I remember being the first black person to play cricket for England. That's correct. And ironically, in Barbados, the country of his birth, where we didn't let up on some hostile fast bowling against him, Sir Clive. We didn't. I was there present for some of that match. And I understand Mr. Gladstone Small came in. Gladstone, okay, who delivered some balls as fast as any here in Test cricket in England as well. Part of the whole structure which Sir Clive built up. And of course the Deputy High Commissioner is here, Mr. Mackie Holder, GTE, and his wife here, and Sir Clive's partner is here as well, Bernice, from fellow CARICOM country as well. So, and of course, welcome to all of you all who are here this afternoon. And let's put this lecture within the context in which it takes place. We're on the eve of National Heroes Day in Barbados, which we celebrate on Tuesday. It will be the 29th National Heroes Day that we will be celebrating. The National Heroes Act was passed through Parliament in 1998, and it created the highest national honor of Barbados, National Hero. 1998, it came in, created the highest national honor that the government of Barbados, through the President of Barbados, on recommendation from the Prime Minister of Barbados, now President, of course, then Governor General, could create. And it entitles the holder of such honor to be referred to as the Right Excellent. And, of course, initially we had 10 national heroes. Now we have 11 when Rihanna Fenty would have been declared a national honor on the eve of us becoming a republic on November the 30th, 2021. And so the category of national heroes is not closed, but obviously to maintain its credibility and integrity, you don't have so many. Jamaica has 7 national heroes. I think they were the first of the CARICOM countries to create this designation of national heroes. And all of our national heroes are people, as the Act defines, who have done extraordinary deeds for Barbados, for the Caribbean, for the diaspora, for mankind. And they have distinguished themselves in particular areas of fields. So out of the 11 that we have, in fact, 4 of them have been linked to the development of the trade union movement, labor, which we in Barbados, of course, regard as very important. So, of course, Sir Grantley, the Right Excellent, Sir Grantley Herbert Adams, first president of the trade union, and Right Excellent Sir Hugh Springer, who went on to become Governor General. He was the first General Secretary of the Barbados Workers' Union, our leading trade union. And of course, the Right Excellent Clement Payne, who in my opinion is the most unique of them, because he was only in Barbados for 4 months. But of course, is linked to the 1937 rebellion, which made transformational structure and progress to the lives of Barbadians at the time. And of course, the mighty Right Excellent Sir Frank Walcott, who internationally known as one of the leading trade unionists. And then, of course, Buster, first national hero in time, Buster Rebellion, 1816, heralded and certainly provided impetus to the abolition of slavery. Less than 20 years after, and the Right Excellent Samuel Jackman Prescott, regarded by some as perhaps certainly one of the 3 greatest Barbadians ever, first non-white person in the Parliament of Barbados, and Right Excellent Charles Duncan O'Neill, his advocacy on behalf of the people, and the only female Right Excellent Sarah Ann Gill, in terms of protecting religion and Methodism. And of course, we have the Right Excellent Rihanna, certainly the most famous Barbadian of contemporary times, and the person in whose honor this today's lecture is about, the Right Excellent Sir Garfield Sobers, certainly one of the most famous Barbadians ever. Undoubtedly, in the opinion of the vast majority of people who are knowledgeable about cricket, the greatest cricketer of all time. And we in Barbados felt that we should honor such people who have done such extraordinary deeds, that they should be set on an apex of those who we recognize, and that the act of so doing is not only merely symbolic, but it is part of the development, sociology, and psychology of a people to have national heroes. Our country is not only made up of its economy, it is also made up of the psyche of the people. And part of the psyche and development of a people has to be the creation of national heroes who have, in some cases, lost their lives in the furtherance of the development of the country, and who are there as icons and examples of what we can achieve and what we can do. So we welcome you. We all look forward to Sir Clive, hearing Sir Clive, someone who played cricket with Sir Gary at the highest level. Although, Sir Clive, I remember a time, I think it was a test match in Guyana. You and Sir Gary batting very well, and one of y'all got run out. I didn't want to say it was you, sir, but I know it was you. I didn't want to say it was you. You collided, exactly, because both of y'all were looking at the ball. Yes, and you got run out, you all collided. So we look forward with wide expectation to your lecture tonight, sir.
So at this time, I was going to actually do a synopsis on all of the national heroes, but the High Commissioner did it for me. So at this time, I'm going to call on Mr. Christopher Brown. Christopher is a Barbadian. I'm going to put it out there early. He's a Combermerian, but he's the, yeah, I have to put it in. Yes, I got to put it in. There's a comment. And Christopher is a lover, a passionate lover of cricket, and I couldn't think of anybody better than to introduce Sir Clive this evening for the program. So, Mr. Brown.
Good afternoon, High Commissioner Hinkson, Deputy High Commissioner Holder, Sir Clive Lloyd, and distinguished guests. And ladies and gentlemen, while sitting waiting to introduce Sir Clive Lloyd, a friend of mine sat to my right, who's the president of the Barbados Cricket Board, said to me, "Chris, do you have a thesis?" I politely said, "No, I just have a few words to say." You know, as I said earlier, it is definitely a privilege and an honor to introduce Sir Clyde Hubert Lloyd to deliver Sir Garfield Sober's lecture, marking the 72nd anniversary of Sir Garfield Sober's West Indies debut and the 60th anniversary of his first Test Series victory as a captain in England. And coincidentally, this year also marks, Sir Clive Lloyd, your 60th anniversary as a West Indies Test player. And my mother always says you should have a little bit of humour. So before I present Sir Clive Lloyd's extensive biography, I'd like to highlight a few brief points. Personal note. Sir Clyde, we share a few small connections. My grandmother was born in 1904 in Ghana, so there's a bit of a connection with Ghana. My middle name is Clive. Like you and Sir Garfield, I batted left-handed, inspired by your achievements. And I also had the privilege to captain cricket teams, as well as teams in sports and clubs. Beyond that, the similarity ends. I would also like to acknowledge, you know, in today's world, Mackenzie talks about transformational and enterprise leaders. Mackenzie, for some of you who may not know, Mackenzie Consulting is one of the sort of renowned and eminent management consultants. And thinking about this morning, I thought, Sir Clive, you actually sort of highlighted before Mackenzie spoke about transformation and enterprise leadership. I think you clearly demonstrated that. So I have a little bit of a note here, which I would like to sort of mention. My note says, Sir Clive, following in the tradition of great predecessors like Sir Garfield, you helped transform not only how cricket was played, but also how leadership was understood. Through your vision, strategy, tactical clarity, culture of discipline, unity, belief, and pride, you eliminated the game for not only me and my contemporaries, others across the globe, and for generations who followed. Beyond the boundary, your leadership demonstrated the discipline required to build, develop, and sustain a high-performing team, and clearly exemplified by what was said earlier, 2 consecutive World Cup titles and an extraordinary period of test success. So now I will go on to give a little bit of a clear bio, which was I was supposed to do, and introduce yourself. Sir Clive Hubert Lloyd, born on the 31st of August 1944 in Georgetown, Guyana. Sir Clive is one of the most influential figures in the history of cricket, widely respected for his leadership, batting prowess, and the role in shaping the dominance of West Indies cricket during the 1970s and early 1980s. He made his international debut for West Indies in 1966 under the captaincy of Sir Garfield Sobers, and quickly established himself as a key member of the team. And at this point, Sir Clive Lloyd, we look forward to hearing how Sir Garfield Sobers' captaincy influenced your cricketing career and as a captain. Over his career, Sir Clive played 110 test matches, scoring more than 7,500 runs, including 19 centuries. He was also a figure in one-day internationals, helping to popularize the format with his dynamic state of play. Known for his aggressive stroke play and calm presence at the crease. Sir Clive is also best known for captaining the West Indies during their most dominant era. Under his leadership, the team became nearly unbeatable in Test cricket, thanks in part of a fearsome pace bowling attack and lineup of world-class batsmen. One of his most iconic achievements, mentioned earlier, was during the inaugural Cricket World Cup 1979, where High Commissioner Hickson mentioned about your brilliant 102 runs in the final game against Australia. He repeated his success by captaining the team to another title in 1979 tournament. He is a towering figure in world cricket. Sir Clive is celebrated as one of the game's most influential captains and leading batsmen. A powerful left-handed middle-order batter and calm, authoritative leader. Beyond his playing career, Sir Clive remained deeply involved in cricket as a coach, commentator, and administrator. He served as a mentor to younger generations and has been associated with the International Cricket Council in various roles. Sir Clive was inducted into the ICC Cricket Hall of Fame in 2009 and knighted for cricket services in 2020. Sir Clive's legacy extends beyond statistics. He's remembered as the architect of one of the greatest teams in the cricket history and a symbol of pride for Caribbean cricket. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I present to you Sir Clive Hubert Lloyd.
I'll give you a minute to get settled. And in the process, I need to, a little bit of addition. The High Commissioner did not mention His Right Excellence Sir Errol Barrow. I don't know how we would want to get past that. So, and Grantley Adams. You mentioned Sir Grantley. So apologies. We're putting it out there. And of course, Sir Errol Walton Barrow, His Great Excellency, he would have been what we describe as the father of independence. So we've got that out there and corrected. I also at this time will quickly acknowledge the presence of the High Commissioner from the Bahamas, His Excellency Mr. Paul Gomez. Sir Clive.
Thank you. Mr. Christopher Brown, I must say that if I'm looking for an agent, you've got a job. Your Excellencies, fellow cricketers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My first duty is to thank the government of Barbados and its London High Commission for inviting me to deliver this lecture on the occasion of Heroes Day. It is a privilege to speak on the theme, All-Round Excellence, Beyond Boundaries, the Legacy of Sir Garfield Sobers. Before I proceed with this lecture, I want to make a revelation. I do not enter this High Commission without some credentials. While I do not seek citizenship, I must inform you that I am at least half Barbadian. My mother, of blessed memory, was born at Blackrock. Asking me, therefore, to deliver this lecture was a felicitous choice. I share kinship with Sir Garfield Sobers. I keep telling my mother that she was born where the asylum is. She was not too happy about that. But in choosing this title, we choose not merely to remember a great cricketer, but to reflect on a rare human achievement, the capacity of one individual to rise above the limits of convention, redefine the standards of the game of cricket, and leave behind a legacy that transcends sport itself. It is indeed rare for a cricketer to combine in one person the skills of a medium-fast bowler, the wiles of an orthodox and back-of-the-arm spinner, and unrivaled fielding close to the wicket. I think you must have guessed by now where I'm going with this. Garfield St. Aubyn Sobers was the greatest all-round cricketer the world has known. From time to time, one reads, or in these modern times, listen to a video in which there is the daring contention that Gary Sobers was not. In the modern parlance, the GOAT, and I think most of you know what GOAT means, I would silence such argument by asking politely, which of the other competitors for this title was ever rated as a great all-rounder and at the same time regarded as the best batsman in the world? All I can say is that those who compare Sobers with other all-rounders must suffer from the defect that they did not have the privilege of seeing Sobers in all his glory. Sobers was named Wisden Cricketer of the Year in 1964 and Wisden Cricketer of the Century. The invitation to deliver this lecture is all the more alluring because it presents the opportunity to celebrate the life and unique career of Sir Garfield Sobers. That Sir Garfield Sobers was a hero and an example of excellence within and beyond the boundary is beyond dispute. In fact, it would be foolish for any man or woman to entertain such an idea in a career spanning approximately 20 years by virtue of his genius, and I use the word deliberately. Gary Sobers rose to the top of the cricket world through bravado batting, bowling, and fielding performances. He achieved great heights. He bestrode the world like a colossus. And the game of cricket, and indeed the wider world, have been better for it. Garfield Sobers was born on 28th of July 1936. He showed early promise and managed to play for the West Indies when he was only 17 years old. The island of Barbados, a small Caribbean island, has a large spirit and a deep love of cricket. In that fact alone, there's something profoundly symbolic. Sobers came from an ordinary family and from a region long regarded by imperial powers and peripheral. Yet, through his genius, he helped to place the Caribbean at the center of world cricket. He was proof that greatness does not depend on the size of one's country, but on the size of one's talent, one's character, and one's ambition. I'm sure I can be forgiven if I say that I'm uniquely qualified to speak about my first Test captain. I began my Test career in 1966 in India, and I could remember my room was next door to his, and he'd invite me across, and I wasn't any big drinker of such, but they had a lot of the senior players there, and he would say, "Have a little toops, son. It will kill the germs." So I was there 6 days running. So I don't think I had the Delhi belly at all. The little tukups destroyed that. When Sir Garfield Sobers had just become captain of the West Indies, I was privileged to bat with him and to watch his unique talent in operation. I remember we had to make 260 odd to win the Test match. And he said, "Young man, I'll tell you when we can have a go." So we sort of knocked it around and so on. And he said, "This is the time." And we got rid of the 260 odd. And funny enough, he told me, "There's a 10,000 guineas running in half an hour." And I was thinking of winning a Test match, my first Test match. And he was thinking of this 10,000 guineas, which he went off to. But the point is, just show the man and what he was like, And we did, extremely well on that tour. I was privileged to bat with him and to watch his unique talent in operation. I have made great claims for Sir Garfield Sobers, and I must produce the evidence for them. I'm in a position to marshal such evidence. Apart from playing with the Baron, as he is known, I had previously studied his career while I was a rising young cricketer in Guyana. How could any young cricketer not do so? Sobers at the wicket, executing magical strokes, was something to behold. Whenever he appeared at border, as he often did, the crowd paid rapt attention. The walk to the crease with his body thrown slightly forward, the short open way down, the athletic stride, and the eyes in a handsome face apparently appraising the crowd. Sober's appearance on a cricket field was one of the most beautiful spectacles. The crowds in Guyana had grown to love and respect him. His emergence from the pavilion at Border would draw rapturous applause. But I might appear to have wandered from the core of the case. I have to make for the excellence of Sir Garfield Sobers within and beyond the boundary. That case must be built on the facts of the career of this man who was beyond doubt the greatest all-round cricketer the world has known. And I have already said I'm about to enter that part of my narrative which might provide an opportunity for nodding off. I therefore decree that any inattention will attract a visit from the London police. Really. Bear with me. We will soon come to the sweet part, where Sobers, by the display of his prodigious talent, was largely responsible with others for taking the West Indies to the top of world cricket. Sir Garfield Sobers began his cricket career as a slow left-arm bowler against India in 1953 and Australia in 1955. He did not do much to attract the attention of the cricketing world, except on one occasion when he was sent to open against the Australians in the same series. He played exquisite strokes in making half a century. In New Zealand in 1955, Sobers did not quite come into his own. Yet the selectors persisted with him. Incidentally, Sobers never had a particularly good campaign in that country. And this raises one of those enigmas in sport. Why should such a great player have found the conditions there so uncongenial? To my mind, no one has been able to explain why a player of such genius should have recorded such ordinary performances in New Zealand, yet be unrivaled on the other playing fields of the world. Here is a question which some young cricket writer in the Caribbean might one day address and offer us an explanation. One is reminded that all great athletes have a vulnerability. This is how the gods are able to make them as human after all. It is as if the standard of the game or the conditions did not stimulate Sobers' genius. So he could not lift his game to the levels which astonished the world on so many occasions. But the failure in New Zealand did not dampen the enthusiasm for this young player. I pause here to say something in praise of the selection of this period. It is well known that over the history of West Indian cricket, they were wont to make some strange decisions. Decisions which sometimes drew satirical and ironic responses from Caribbean spectators. The most knowledgeable in the world, no doubt about that. And I can tell you, Barbadians, oh, you can't get past them with anything silly. You've got to come good. I do not need to detail them here. I have not come to reopen old wounds, but to praise those selectors who had the wisdom to stick with Gary Sobers by including him in the teams which visited England in 1957. Sobers again did not stand out, but he gave evidence of an emergent talent. Those who were paying attention, such as Frank Worrell, noticed that Sobers was not only giving hints of his promise as a batsman, but was also bowling seam in the nets, a talent he was to exploit with success when the West Indies toured Australia in 1961 and England in 1963. Here in Michael Manley's description of what Sobers did in England in 1957 in his A History of West Indies Cricket book. He made a not-out double century at Trent Bridge against Nottingham, which left his audience gasping. He showed his liking for Lords with an undefeated 100 against the MCC, and he batted better than his colleagues in the double batting disaster in the Oval Test. And then there was 104 against Somerset at Taunton. Apart from these, he remained a tantalizing figure. There was the quality of class that stamped everything he did. No one saw him could doubt that he represented extraordinary potential for the game. But as Manley argued, his class was masked by ordinary figures in both bowling and batting in the first class and test matches. Yet the belief in the talent of young Garfield Sobers paid off. 1958 was certainly the year Garfield Sobers is said to have arrived. The third test against Pakistan at Sabina Park, Jamaica, will long remain in the minds of every West Indian cricket enthusiast. I reach again for Michael Manley's history. During the first two tests, when he had made 52, 52 and 80, Sobers' batting had increasingly the quality of a gathering storm. It seemed impossible to believe that this slim, lithe, graceful, and infinitely talented young man had not made his maiden test century after 16 test matches. During the next 10 hours and 8 minutes, Sobers redeemed all the pledges that had seemed implicit since the morning on the same ground against Hutton's side 4 years ago. His 365 not out broke Hutton's record, incorporating both Bradman's 334 at Leeds in 1930 and Hanif Mohammed's 337 at Bridgetown the month before. Hanif had taken some 3 hours longer than Hutton to make his 27 runs less. Sobers took 3 hours less than Hutton to make 1 run more. We can skip Sobers' 4 centuries against the MCC in 1960, including his double century in Barbados and his 709 runs in the series, and move to the scintillating 1960-61 series in Australia. I can remember as a boy waiting up to listen to that series. The cricket played by the West Indies resulted from a transformation in the attitude of the players. In my humble judgment, 2 factors, among others, were responsible for this. The region was on its way to becoming independent in the wake of the collapse of the West Indies Federation in 1962. And I just wondered, if the Federation was successful, what a great nation we would be, working together and doing all the things that we should together. One nation, one anthem, you know, it would have, I think it would have been wonderful, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. The only remaining regional institution were the University of the West Indies and the West Indies cricket team. In fact, the institution had long brought representatives from the various territories together to represent the region as a single entity. As early as 1886, according to Professor Hilary Beckles in his book, The Nation Imagined, the first West Indies team was selected for the explicit purpose of playing outside of the region. The search for a unified West Indies cricket team was long in coming, but it seemed to have reached its zenith in 1961. The spirit of independence seemed to infuse the West Indies cricket team, and it played with purpose, determination, and style. That team so captured the hearts of the Australians that over 500,000 of them turned out in Melbourne to say goodbye to them. The second factor was the appointment of Sir Frank Worrell as captain of the West Indies cricket team. The captains of previous West Indies test teams tended to be white. And I asked someone why this was so. And they said, oh, because you were quite subservient. I could have slapped him. Except in 1948, when George Headley captained the team against England, but only for one test. But by 1960, the region had spoken. The captain would be selected on the basis of merit and not colour. Frank Worrell, who had become one of the world's leading batsmen and who was known to have a profound knowledge of the game and to be a leader of men, took the West Indies to play one of the greatest series in Test cricket. It taught the world that good leadership can release the energies, talents, and genius of a cricket team. I too learned this when I was given the opportunity to lead the West Indies. I learned a lot from Frank Worrell. Did I say he was another Barbadian hero? That a cohesive West Indies team playing with purpose and intent is hard to beat. In an environment of brilliant leadership by Worrell, individual players blossomed. It was during that series that Rowan Kanai, Sobers, Gibbs, and Hall emerged as great cricketers. But it is Sobers who seemed to stand head and shoulders above the others. His all-round ability was on full display. For the first time in his Test career, he would bowl at a fast medium pace. His fielding close to the wicket was exceptional, but above all, his batting was at the level of a genius. In the final Test at Brisbane, Garfield Sobers played one of the greatest innings ever seen in Test cricket. Here is C.L.R. James' description of that great event in Beyond a Boundary. The first innings of Sobers at Brisbane was the most beautiful batting I have ever seen. Never there was such case and certainty of stroke, such early seeing of the ball, and such late and leisured play, such command by a batsman not only of the bowling, but of it himself. He seemed to be expressing a personal vision. I had thought of him as having too much bowling to do, but after that innings, I knew that such batting can come only at moments, and until they come, the unfortunate artist has the disruptive task of adjusting himself to what he can do in relation to what he knows possible. I want to make this argument that in the Australian series, the world beginning to witness, not seen before, a great game, Sobers was unique, not simply because he excelled in many departments of the game. It was the breathtaking case with which he did so. He was a magnificent batsman, capable of elegance and destruction in equal measure. He was a bowler of remarkable variety, able to deliver left-arm fast medium, orthodox spin, and wrist spin. He was also an exceptional fielder, athlete, instinctive and daring. He did not merely play cricket, he seemed to enlarge its possibilities. both for himself and for the game in him. The game found one of its finest expressions. The Australia series seemed to have given a fillip to his talents. In the Test series in England in 1963, Gary Sobers was a maturing, conquering hero. I have an image of an incident during that series which I must relate. Ted Dexter, having decided that he was going to put the West Indies basemen Hall and Griffith to the sword. He was so successful that he raced to 73, driving and hooking as if they were ordinary bowlers. Dexter seemed poised to get a century before lunch, but Frank Worrell was watching and thinking. He threw the ball to Sobers. I believe that in his very first over, Sobers bowled a beautiful in-swinger, which trapped Dexter in front of the stumps. Thousands in Guyana and the rest of the Caribbean breathed a sigh of relief. Ted Dexter looked ominous, as though he might engineer the destruction of the West Indies cricket team. But why do I recall all of this? It is to point to Sobers' exceptional ability to prize out top batsmen with his bowling. C.L.R. James wrote an extensive essay on Sobers' ability in this regard. I also remember Gary Sobers in 1965 taking the new ball instead of the regular fast bowlers and removing Bobby Simpson. He tormented the poor Australians until Simpson got his revenge by putting up a massive stand with Bill Lawry in the final test. Any captain would be blessed to have a cricketer of this superior ability in his team. And after he was selected to lead the West Indies following Frank Worrell, he made the West Indies the best team in the world by his captaincy and his play. In 1966, Sobers swept all before him against England. In a 5-match series, he scored 722 runs and had an average of 103.14. But in the ensuing years, between 1966 and his retirement in 1973, the genius seemed at times to have stumbled. There was the controversial declaration against England in 1968, which attracted considerable adverse criticism and comment. There was the disastrous tour to Australia in 1968, when his team came apart before the eyes of the region. Then there was the controversial visit to Rhodesia, which raised angry eyebrows among politicians across the region. But those were minor blemishes in an otherwise brilliant career in which he took West Indian batting to new heights and added new dimension to the art of fielding. I remember when he declared giving England, I think it was 268, and we lost, although we played, excellent cricket. And when he a guy went to the counter, the fellow said, "You have anything to declare?" He said, "Who you take me for?" I've given you a portrait of Gary Sobers, the cricketer. What about Gary Sobers, the man? Those who had the opportunity to meet this outstanding West Indian have testified that he is a modest, friendly person who wore his greatness lightly. Gary Sobers has lived humbly and continued to do so. After his retirement, he served West Indies cricket in various capacities, and his faith in West Indies cricket has never wavered. I am sure that Sir Garfield Sobers that realized that we And our team will come back. It'll take some time. There's no doubt about that. But if we have the right people teaching our young players, we have Sir Gordon Greenidge here, you have Collis King, we have a lot of people there, Desmond Haynes, who can give them that little help that is needed. And I think all the board has to do is to get these guys in there. Other countries have done it. Australia's got Ponting and one or two others. Hayden. And we've got Greenidge, one of the greatest opening batsmen here. And I sincerely hope that they will realize that a great West Indies team or a very good West Indies team is needed in this cricketing sphere. The rise of Garfield Sobers from humble beginnings to the pinnacle of world cricket cannot be adequately told in a single lecture. I do not know Sir Garfield Sobers well enough to know what lies at the root of his being. What I do know are the public facts of his life and my own, and my own knowledge of him as I interacted with him over the years. As I said, I was fortunate to have played with him and to have learned from him. In a career spanning some 20 years, he accumulated achievements which must ensure him an enduring legacy in the region in which he was born. I am glad that Barbados has made him a national hero. Much has been done, but more can be done. Why not have a Garfield Sobers trophy in the same way that we had the Carl Noons trophy for the best players in a test series? Why not a Garfield Sobers Cricket Academy? Why not make his life story part of the school curriculum? I am confident that Garfield Sobers' legacy extends beyond the boundary line, because he represented far more than success in Test cricket. He emerged during a period when the Caribbean was finding its voice in politics, culture, and identity. West Indian cricket was becoming one of the great theatres in which a colonized people asserted dignity, equality, and pride. In that theatre, Sobers became one of its leading actors. Ladies and gentlemen, when we honor Garfield Sobers, we honor more than a cricketer. We honor an idea that excellence, when pursued fully, knows no boundaries. It crosses islands and continents. It outlives applause. It enters memory and becomes inheritance. He gave the Caribbean a sense of confidence. He stood before the old powers, not with hesitation, but with authority. His success challenged inherited assumptions about who could lead, who could dominate, and who could define excellence. In that sense, his career belongs not only to cricket history, but also to the larger story of Caribbean self-belief. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you how proud I am to be here to do this, because Gary Sobers is someone who I've admired over the years. He's shown me the way, and he would help anyone. He is a great individual, and I know my health is not the best at the moment, but we hope that he's around for quite a lot. And I'd like to thank the Barbados Embassy for affording me this privilege. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Clive. It's really, really an honor for us to have you here with us as well. So we thank you, we thank you, we thank you. At this time, I just want to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Mike Gattin. Hey! Mr. Gattin is in the house. I had reached out to Sir Ian Botham, and at first he said, I'll try to make it, but then he came back and said, Betty, I'm 300 miles away from London. It'll be a little bit for me, but I don't want to miss this opportunity. So Sir Ian sent us a little video to share some greetings for Sir Gary. So here we are. Can you show the other one with Sir Gary, and we'll come back to this one. Enjoy.
When I'm on good, he good, and when I'm on great, he great, so that I show him how much we really appreciate the kind of thrills that he gave us, the many, many, many times he saved us with ingenious bowling and exciting, glorious batting. Gary sobers when you call his name. You are speaking about the maestro of the cricket game. Be proud of his great West Indian bowling Tennessee. He's the greatest cricketer the world has ever seen. He's the greatest cricketer the world has ever seen. In any sport at all, anything to do with a ball, yes, you will agree this man has natural ability. So many records were broken, so many great words were spoken of this Barbadian who brought such fame to our island. Yeah. Gary sobers when you call his name. He's the one and only. He's the maestro of the cricket game. Be proud of his great West Indian bowling dynasty. He's the greatest cricketer the world has ever seen. Believe me, he's the greatest cricketer the world has ever seen.
And he's done it! And my goodness, it's gone way down the Monty. Six on the clock. 36-1 over. 36-1 over.
So at this time, we're going to do a little 10-minute Q&A. I'm sure some of you in the audience have some questions for Sir Clive, and we'll take it from there.
You can ask a question, yeah.
I'm only short, but I'm standing. I was just going to ask, we need West Indies cricket very badly. Having been backwards and forwards to Barbados many times and talking to all your greats, nice to see Gordy here and everybody, and Stoney, the great Stoney. We need them badly. How are we going to do it? And you having put together or followed up from Walcott and in having one of the best teams you've ever had of all time, I would say, your team through the 70s and 80s, and you've got a lot of very good people down the front there. Why haven't you been able to invigorate the guys on the islands? Because you've got so much talent in such small islands.
Well, I think, how much time do I have? T20 cricket has destroyed us because we're island people and we don't have these big companies that will
Hi, Gary.
employ our players. You know,
Well,
you have a guy now
90s
would say he's getting 800,000 US for one tour in 3 weeks. Well, if you, from my country in Guyana, you multiply that by 230, because it's 230 to 1. That is only for 3 weeks' work. Then he can go to another couple and get the same. So why is he going to be playing Test cricket? And that is the problem that we have. And the good thing about West Indian cricket is they don't pay tax. All this money these guys are earning, they're not paying any tax. And the point is that England cricketers still want to play for England. Australians still want to play for Australia. Sri Lanka still want to play for India. So that is the problem that we have at the moment. It's a money problem. Now here you have a system at the ICC. India, Australia, and England receive 180 million. And the other seven countries, they receive 80. Now that's 100 million more. In 2 years' time, we would have played cricket for 100 years. I am saying that if you're playing Premier League football, United would not receive more money than Liverpool, right? Or Arsenal and Chelsea. They all receive the same. Why couldn't we do the same? We have 14 islands. We're not one country. It takes us 70,000 US to hold a board meeting. Right? Here, if you're in England, you take the car or you take the train, you get to Lord's, you have the meeting for 3 days, you might stay at the hotel next door. It's not going to cost you £10,000. But if we have to have a meeting, 70,000 US, you know, and people don't realize that we're not just one island. We have 14 islands, and you have to please those people. I think we need to have more Gordon Greenidges and Desmond Haynes on the committee. We don't have a Test cricketer on our cricket committee. We don't have one in our board committee. So we are struggling in that respect. And that is why I presume our cricket is like it is. And it will continue to be that way if we don't be strong. You can't go to an ICC meeting and 3 countries get 180 million. And you sit down there and just say, and you're there 98 years, and you sit down and be quiet. We need more people there arguing for our cricket. We need better facilities. We need better stadiums. We have to pay our players better. We have to pay our officials better. Good? I see India's got a stadium holding 150,000 people. You know, our stadiums can hold 7,000 or 8,000, and they fell. 10 to be the most. We need better. India came down to the West Indies and said the facilities were terrible. We need to improve our cricket from the grassroots right up. And if we don't do that, we'll end up, as you're saying, we'll be good spectators. You know. And we have talented cricketers, no doubt about that. We have the talent. But we don't play 4-day cricket anymore. There's no school cricket. They now, as Calvin told me, that they're on the 17s and so on, and on the 19s are doing well. But then when they get here, they've gone to the T20 and we left. If we train 30 people and we lose 15, it takes you 3 years to build a Test cricketer. So it's like digging a hole to fill a hole. So we are always going to be here unless we have a better system. Governments, I don't know what they can do, but they own the stadiums. They have to do something about it. Else we will be down in the doldrums for another 20 years. It should be unfortunate.
With regards to your interaction with Sir Gary, sir, you stated that he was a very significant influence on your cricketing career. Did he have any influence in your personal life as well? Like, is there anything that you learned from him that allowed you to grow into the great man that you are today?
You heard about the bird ticket? I used to come from high school and we tried to get up there, and this branch was just over the pitch. So I would be there for quite a long while watching Garfield sobers and the other cricketers. And yes, he's influenced everybody. We wanted to walk like Garfield. We wanted to bat like Garfield. And I wish we could get the girls like Garfield. No, he was a handsome guy, and but he's a wonderful person. I mean, when I played my first Test match, I was supposed to be in the 12 because they had all the great players there, and he came and he said to me, "You're in." I said, "In where?" He said, "You're playing." So I knew about 20 minutes before that I was playing in the Test match because Seymour Nurse got injured. So it was one of these, you got struck by lightning. Here I'm going to be playing with Sir Garfield, Sobers, Rowan, Canai, Basil Butcher, Solomon, and Hall, and Griffith. It was amazing. But I had another story. I played for Guyana against Australia, and there's if you can come in and sit down. So I thought, and myself and Collymore, the left arm spinner, sat there, and the president of the GCC said, "I'm sorry, sir, you can't sit here. You've got to be over there in the south stand." I said, "Oh, really? I just finished playing for Guyana, Anyhow, I watched part of the Test match through the treaders of the stairs. But funny enough, God is a good God. And he said, and they said, "Oh, they need a 12th man." And said, "Oh, Clive would be the man to be there." And I got my gear up, and I went and I sat with the players. And the same president passed, and I said, "Can't move me now." Oh, it is so funny. I had another story with, what's his name again, who opened the batting for Guyana and the West Indies. No, this is before them, in the 50s. Christiani. So they invited me to dinner. So the Australians were there, and I sat down, And the guy from the PNC at the time, Burnham's party, he said, "Tell Clive what you told me just now." He said, "I don't think Clive Lloyd will be a Test cricketer." And at 17 years old, that will hit you very hard. But the next year, I got quite a lot of runs, and I played for the West Indies a couple of months after. But he sits right there as you're coming up the stairs. And I'm coming up the stairs, and I looked at him and said, "You were so and so wrong, weren't you?" But we had those sort of things, and I suppose most of you guys would have, somebody you always have to, do a little extra. Put in that extra. And you're only judged by the obstacles you overcome. And I had quite a few of them. But I must tell you that Gary, I remember when we went to Australia, and I wasn't getting any runs in the leading up to the Test matches. And I said, "Gary, am I doing anything wrong? Skip, am I doing anything wrong?" He said, "No, not at all. It will come at the right time." And I got 100 in the Test match. So the point is that if you listen to people that you believe in, he's a guy that I believed in. I would give Gary Sobers my last dollar. He was a very, very he's a nice person. You know, and I picked up a lot of such stuff from him. He was not a selfish man. You know, the attitude that he portrayed, I tried to take to my players. A lot of people don't realize that when we played in our team, if Gordon got a man of the match, he took half the money, but the rest went into the kitty, because he didn't run all his runs himself. And everybody shared the same. I didn't get more than my players. If there is this pile of money, we divided it among everybody. Physio, the manager, everybody, the non-players got the same. So we were a team, we were a family. You know, Collis still to buy me a drink, but no, we enjoyed what we did, and we're proud to know what we've done for the people. People, especially here in England, they walk tall. For 17 years, nobody didn't beat them. 17 years. Which is a mighty long time. And don't forget, we only had 5 million people. India's got 1.25 billion people. You know, you have Australia, millions, England, millions of people. But we managed to hold our own. And people can say what they like about 4 fast bowlers. Other people had 4 fast bowlers. Other people had great batsmen. But we managed to stay there long enough. And I hope that in the next 2 years, if we're all around, that they will be able to honor these guys who've put in the work, really. You know? But this
yeah, so Clive Lloyd is your agent again.
Is this my manager? My future manager.
Yeah. One particular question, because, you know, earlier I talked about transformative leadership and enterprise leadership, which you obviously was exemplify. But with the limited infrastructure at the time, right, we spoke about, the infrastructure is even more limited then, was even more limited then than it is now. How were you able to implement that vision and strategy? That is the key thing, because we all like to understand that. And in saying that, what it is, like Mike Gatton asks, what it is as our leaders, what do we need to do to actually rise to the top again?
Yeah, the point is that, well, these guys will tell you that our team meetings were quite long. We went through the whole list of players in the opposition, where we'll bowl to them, what field we'll have. So it is not something we just said, oh, give this ball to Andy Roberts, or we'll give this guy to Michael Holding. It's a discussion. And I normally had that discussion, and we'll have a meal after that. Because after that meal, it was too late to them to go anywhere. So it was a strategy that we... And a lot of people, too, don't understand our rooming system. You never had 2 Barbadians or 2 Trinidadians. You had a Barbadian and a Jamaican, a Guyanese and an Antigua. And they became friends. They understood one another. And they looked forward to the next tour. You know, so that's why I'm saying it was people just saw that, we just played and it just went along like that. The point is and after I was paying for those dinners, I said no. I had asked the board to pay for those dinners because Gordon and these guys do drink some strong drink. You know what I mean? But the point is that we had a good time, and we even had a guy who was looking after our stuff, in the sense that he would make sure that we had the right sponsorship and so on. So at times, you would earn more money from the sponsorship than your fee. Because when you win, you get money too. And I remember every time we went to Australia, if India was there, it was 160,000. When the West Indies came, it got to 60,000. So we didn't, we didn't earn as much money that we should have. But the point is that we won, and we won handsomely. So I can understand what Mike is talking about. I have something here where this guy, David Frith, wrote, an Australian. And it was amazing what he said. David Frith, editor of the Wisden Cricket Monthly, described the forthcoming West Indian tour as another invasion by a West Indian team, which is the most fearsome, the most successful, and the most unpopular in the world, he says. Their game is founded on vengeance and violence, and is fringed by arrogance. The previous year, also under Fritz's editorship, the same magazine published a letter. Until we, and he's an Australian, he is an Australian, isn't he? But can breed 7-foot monsters willing to break bones and shatter faces. We cannot compete against these threatening West Indians. Even the umpires are scared that the devilish-looking Viv Richards might put a voodoo sign on them. But it's, we had to go through some things, but the point is that because we were successful, 5 million people, different walks of life, it's just a small cadre of people playing sport. And for 17 years, we were at the top of the tree. We have a lot to be proud of. We played, 11 test matches without losing, 29 without, we didn't lose for 29 test matches. So those are things that we should be proud of, and all of you should be proud of. And I thank you for coming, really, I must say. It's been wonderful. And the West Indian team, cricket team, before us, anyway, with the 3 W's and so on, we've had some great players, there's no doubt about that. But they, too, didn't earn anything in particular. I remember Wes Hall telling me that they got £1 a day for lunch and dinner in 1957. But that was, those were the days that we were playing. Kerry Packard did tell me one thing. He said, Clive, you guys didn't realize what you were worth. And it's true. You wanted to play for your country. You want to do well. You want to be that household name, And we have some of the greatest players here who've done a lot, not only for the West Indies. They played county cricket. They did extremely well. And proud of what they accomplished.
Greetings to all, and I consider it one of the rare opportunities to engage with one of our Hall of Famers, as I would say. I have a quick comment and a question. And during the discourse, it was mentioned that two important things that was mentioned, cricket in our education system and UWI. And with that said, I remember that so I consider myself a child, I don't know if to say it proudly or not, that saw the decline of cricket in the Caribbean. But fortunately, it was an era where, I'm not sure how it is now, but in school you would get lashed or beaten if you didn't know the entire cricket team back then, and so much has changed. But I think that my comment is that I think the breakdown started on a community level and a school level. Because, think about it, over the years, you could have said it reached at a point where it was a Caribbean child could dream about being a basketball player easier than becoming a West Indies cricket player, and that was just the discount. I mean, there were so many other things to take into consideration also. I mean, there was access. You had to compete with basketball, football, and so on. But we knew that what cricket, many instances. And, you know, as cars develop, you know, we had more cars that chased the children off the road. There were little access to playing fields, and so many different things happened. So my comment is that maybe we should invest a lot of research into the dynamics of cricket from the Caribbean perspective, and how we can get maybe the community and the schools more involved, maybe getting scholarship, as Yui was mentioned. Right now we have many students going to on athletic scholarships, basketball scholarship. How many do we hear about getting a cricket scholarship, maybe to go to UWI, also one of our regional universities? My question is, how do you believe we can get cricket back to the community and maybe back to, or if you believe that is the way forward? Thank you.
Well, I did ask the West Indies Cricket Board to have a committee, and we should go to the ICC to give, well, for special dispensation because of our 14 islands. And I can't see why the other countries could get 180 million and we should get 80. And we'll be now going for nearly 100 years. So I don't know if that is going to happen. I heard it was going to, but they need some good guys who understand economics and so on, and on our diaspora. And then we should be able to put forward a very good program to the ICC, where we should receive more money, so we can have better playing surfaces. You see, the other thing is it's our clubs. There are all these guys came from clubs, and clubs in the West Indies now are dying because you cannot generate enough money from membership to pay for grounds and the maintenance of the grounds and so on, and stands and all that. So the club cricket is dying out. But if we can get some more money, and if the government could help us in some respect, then probably we will be able to get back to that stage that Mike is talking about. But money is really a problem for us. And until we get a better system, our schools will be struggling. Playing fields, you can't afford to maintain those things unless you have the right sort of money. So I can understand what you're talking about. We have a lot of young cricketers, but nowhere to go. We hope Barbados is doing quite well, as I spoke to Mr. Hope, that they're still managing to play schools cricket. We need that. If you look at all the players in the past, they've played school cricket, and that's where they started. And if we can get back to that, but different day and age, people want to do different things, and they want quick money too. I don't know if is that all right? Yes.
Hi, good afternoon all. My name is Cedric Lynch and I work for the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. And I started working for the Barbados Tourism Authority back in the day. And I had the fortunate position or job to be Sir Gary's chaperone as we toured around the country promoting Barbados and cricket. And during some of these long drives, we would test him with some questions and to get to know what he was about. But before I get to my two comments, the first I'm going to say is that Sir Garfield is my hero. Yeah. Secondly, he's the most generous man I've ever met.
I agree with that.
And to top it off, he's the most humble person that you will meet as well. Yeah. We were discussing his batting one day on the road, and I said to him, you know, how do you get in position and stuff as quickly where you see other people struggling? And he said to me, he used to encourage West Hall and Charlie Griffith to bowl at him from 18 yards. So he reckoned that if he could react from 18 yards, when others are bowling from 22, he's way ahead of them. That was the first thing. And then one Christmas, or every Christmas I'm in Barbados, I would go over to his house Christmas night. He would have a dinner. And he said, Cedric, have you ever seen my trophy room? I said, no, I've never seen it. He says, come with me. So we went, and there's loads of trophies all over. And I said to him, so Gary, what would be your most treasured trophy of this lot? And he reached up on the mantelpiece, and he took down, and he said, this one. And I looked at it, and it said BBC Player of the Year or something like that. 1966, he won the BBC Player of the Year, international, yeah? Sportsman of the Year. Well, I wasn't wrong that time. He said he beat, England won the World Cup, so you had the two brothers. He beat them.
Bobby Charlton.
Pelé was the greatest footballer at the time. And Muhammad Ali was the best boxer, and he beat those four people. He said that was his most treasured trophy. So it's just to let you know the greatness of the man.
I can agree with you, there's no doubt about that. I remember we used to, after the game on Saturdays in the leagues, we'll go to a fellow called Bull Williams, and he was Barbadian. And no food would be cooking until Gary comes. Because Gary comes and he puts the money there and we add to it and so on. And then we have this massive amount of food there and drink and so on. But he was he was a tremendous person, very, very generous. There's no doubt about that. And you hope that somebody like Gary would live for a long, long time. You know, unfortunately, as I said earlier, he's struggling a little bit. And I rang the other day on his birthday, but his son said he wouldn't, he's suffering from amnesia. So, which is a bit of a, unfortunate problem. But what a great individual. And all I can do is just wish him the best of luck. Yeah.
So, Clive, I think one of the more significant aspects of your presentation was your reference to the fact that the great West Indies teams, certainly two of which you were part at various stages, brought tremendous pride and psychological uplift to Caribbean people living in England. In eras such as the 60s where it wasn't easy at all for people of the majority race of the Caribbean. And I understand when you all used to beat the British in the 60s, especially 63, 66, and then going forward under your captaincy, we would come to work the next day and pomposettas, we say in Barbados, on the British.
Walk tall.
True. And I take what Mr. Mike Gattin, former English captain, said, and Mr. Gattin didn't recognize you. If not, of course, I would have acknowledged you as well, that I think world cricket needs West Indies cricket back on the top. And I note that when you were captain, we used to have a psychologist, Mr. Rudy Webster, who, at least from my viewpoint, as an outsider in terms of playing cricket, played a tremendous role in helping your team reach the top. I am not sure now that we have that a psychologist as part of the West Indies cricket team. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on that? If that, having a psychologist like Rudy Webster and the role he played could assist as well in terms of helping the West Indies cricket team present, reach its glory days again.
Yeah. Well, yes, it's cash again. To get somebody of that nature now, you've got to pay a fair amount of money. And I'm told that it seems that we are not, we're not in the richest board in the world, and we have some problems. And I know that our youngsters can do it. Our youngsters can have Greenwich and these guys working with them. They're top-class cricketers, and they can pass on the knowledge that is needed. Why is India doing well? India is one of the richest boards in the world. Do you know how much money they made last year with the IPL? $6 billion US. Right? The point is, if we want to engage our players, I'm not saying that you want the exorbitant wages, but get the senior guys who've done well to pass that knowledge on, not knowledge on. It happened with the Indian players. The IPL players some of them have Ponting, they have quite a few of those they have guys from New Zealand passing on that knowledge from an early age. You must have a 19-year-old in one of the teams. Good? So our players are not getting that. We have some of the best fast bowlers in the world. And we engage a guy from Australia and a fellow from New Zealand, who we really don't know much about, but the point is we have 6 or 8 top-class fast bowlers. Our bowlers were the best in the world for quite a while. Why are we not using them? I think that we have to look at our cricket seriously from the ground up and try and work out exactly where we want to go. If you run in a government, you look at the people that you choose to make sure that you stay in power and stay in government for a while. The same thing with cricket. You have to get people in there, giving them the education that is needed. And until we do that, we'll always be at the bottom. We've been there for 20-odd years? When we were the champions, we had some of the best players, and they came from the same situation. They worked hard to get there. Fortunately, they played a bit of county cricket. I can say that is what is lacking with these guys. We had the luxury of playing county cricket, where you play 14 days straight. Some of these guys, when they play 3 days, they're tired. You know what I mean? They don't train enough. So it's a situation where you've got to get back this professional attitude. And until we do something like that, and until we get these wonderful players that we have produced over the years back in our system, we'll be there scraping the barrel again. All right, thank you.
Again, thank you, Sir Clive. At this time, as promised, I'm going to show the video from Sir Ian Botham.
Hi, Gary. Well, mate, 90th birthday, not far off. Do you know, one of the questions I get asked all the time is, who's the best all-rounder? It's a simple answer. There's only one. That's Sir Garfield Sobers. My hero. I love watching you play. I think if you remember, we had one little encounter where I think you were playing for Notts right at the end of the season. I think it was your last season playing in former county cricket. But it would have been a pleasure to have played a lot more against you. Mate, you set the standard, and what can I say? I wish you could have got over here for this little memorial. But when I'm back over in the Caribbean, I'll come banging on the door, and we might just have a glass or two. Well done, mate. Congratulations. Gary Sobers, the great.
At this time, I'm going to call on our Deputy High Commissioner, Mr. Mackie Holler, to give our closing remarks.
Excellencies, our cricketing heroes, all of you, because that is what you are. I am the tail ender in cricketing terms, and I'm happy to say there's no need for me to bat long because we've had a great innings by the great Sir Clive Lloyd. This is the second time at an overseas mission that I have had the pleasure of being involved in a salute to the great Sir Garth. And that is a reflection not only of how we as government representatives view Sir Gary, but how the people generally view Sir Gary. I've had the pleasure of seeing Sir Gary in different guises, and I just want to quickly share 3 or 4. My first memory of cricket, and I admit, I don't know too much about cricket, but my first memory was being passed by hand through a crowd at Kensington. And I don't think that there was any space at all for anyone to walk because the great Sir Garth was going to bat that day. And during the Gulf War that England was involved in, I happened to be living in England at the time. And BTMI, who are represented here, and I want to acknowledge Elan Motley and her team as partners in this process. Tom Keane was then, I believe, the defense secretary. And he commandeered a plane and flew back just to see Sir Gary Sobers. This thing, I mean, Gary was probably in his 60s and so on. The lines were just amazing. This was a school day. Children weren't at school. Parents pulled their children out of school just to meet Sir Gary. And Tom King took his blows, but at the end, he got to say he met Sir Gary. We had a church service in Birmingham, and we invited, you invite the officials. And this guy, one guy, yes, government official, he forgot that it was a church service. His whole remarks were that he's so in love with Gary Sobers. And he can go to his grave saying he saw Sir Gary play. Sir Clive and everybody who's commented has spoken about Sir Gary as a human being. We share a great friend, Richie Allen, and they are opposite ends of the scale in every respect, even color. Sir Gary is Richie's best friend. You cannot meet, Cedric said it, you cannot meet a more humble man than Sir Gary Sobers. They played golf until about 2 years ago, almost every day. And you know what they say? If Gary had discovered golf before cricket, we'd be in trouble. We'd be talking about Sir Gary, the golfer. And I just want to say that this celebration of Sir Gary is in the context of our national heroes. And we should take inspiration from our national heroes. Not only what they've achieved on behalf of our country, but how they conducted themselves. And if you want to understand how to carry greatness, how to live as somebody revered throughout the world, and nobody likes Sir Gary more than Indians, I can tell you that. They would like to buy him all now. Look to Sir Gary. Introducing the bill to appoint our national heroes, then Prime Minister Owen Arthur, and I came with a whole association because I actually wrote the introduction to the bill that was laid in Parliament, debated in Parliament. Owen Arthur spoke, Sir Clive spoke about Gary's prowess, mainly on the fields. Owen Arthur spoke about Gary as a Caribbean folk hero, as a man that was the first person that the masses in the Caribbean looked up to. The first person, as Sir Clive said, that ordinary people came to believe that they too could achieve greatness. And before anybody wanted to be like Mike, the great basketballer, they wanted to be like Sir Garth. We have wonderful talents, and this is the last point I'm going to make, reinforcing what Sir Clive has said. Betty and I and Cedric, when we have our little arguments on cricket, and they're rough. You know, Betty only want to hear crick. She ain't in for the act. But it is, I think, a sad reflection on all of us on the Caribbean, on Caribbean governments, that a game that has given so much to the Caribbean, apart from the University of the West Indies, the West Indies cricket team is the greatest gift that we've ever been given. And while Sir Clive spoke about the ICC and the money there, I think it is really incumbent that we take hold of something that is really ours. I don't mind Gatting will say that England invented cricket. They don't know too much about this. But we really have to begin to take charge of what is ours and not look outside for people to develop it. Like crop over, when cricket comes to Barbados, everybody benefits. Every single business benefits. And it's shameful that we, governments and private sector, cannot come together and find a way. We find a way to do things. We are the most remarkable group of people in the world who have achieved so much with so little. We have to find a way to bring back West Indies cricket to where it should be. I am not going to go into why we have someone like Sir Gordon and all these greats, and for all these years we cannot find a way to utilize them. But I know Calvin is going to change some things. So we will expect to see goodness. With that said, I want to thank all of you for coming. Sir Clive and your partner, because, you know, behind every great man, there's a woman. And thank you for so readily agreeing to facilitate Sir Clive with us. I want to thank all of you, all of our cricketing heroes for turning up today and really taking the time. Calvin for coming, Mike Gaddin for being here, and for all of you for attending. And lastly, but not least, these occasions are put together with a lot of work from people you don't even see. Some of them are downstairs, some of them are doing other things. And I want to thank the High Commissioner for hosting, Betty for putting it together. I did say, you only got to say cricket, and Betty is there. This is a great day, great effort. And I want to thank BTMI as well, and the Team Barbados for really putting this together. There's a lot more to be done. I hope at some point we can really get you guys to come back and let's just have a full-scale debate and discussion on how you could help advance cricket, but also bridge the gap between second and third generation Barbadians there with our people in Barbados and bring that synergy to bear. I thank you, and Sir Clive again, thank you. Your lecture has been as great as your career has been. And I end by saying that the U.S. intend to go to Mars in 2 years. In the words of the mighty Spur, they're likely to see Sir Gary Sobers, the greatest cricketer on Earth or Mars. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy High Commissioner. On a personal note, I couldn't end this evening unless I give my little penny as it relates to Sir Gary. Some of you here know that I worked at the Barbados Tourism Authority, which is now BTMI. And during that period, Sir Gary was the sporting consultant. And as usual, Betty was his good friend because I love cricket. And whenever he's in office, Sir Gary would give me $100 to buy him a juicy and a ham cutter. And he would always say to me, Betty, sort out yourself too here. So I look forward to when Sir Gary was in the office because I knew that that day was ham cutter and red juicy day. and we built obviously a very good relationship along the way to the point that between the two of us, he calls me Star Girl and I call him Star Boy. So Star Boy, we did all this here for you this evening and we hope that we get an opportunity to do something like this again. Thank you. Right. So we've come to the end of our event this afternoon. The Deputy High Commissioner, he thanked a few people, but I also want to just add, we want to thank the caterers. I know you're going to enjoy the spread that we laid out for you. And I also want to thank Mervyn Lynch Productions in Barbados because they were the ones who would have sent us the video with the footage on Sir Gary. So we want to thank them as well. And like the Deputy High Commissioner said, this is teamwork here that you're seeing. It's not just Betty, it's teamwork. So I want to thank my colleagues, Ms. Ford, the Executive Secretary, there's Ms. Millington involved, I've got Ms. Gibson. Everybody plays a role in putting these kind of events together, and I want to acknowledge my colleagues and thank them for the support. So this is the time now when we get up and start to behave like Bajans. So we're going to get something to eat. There's a nice, well-stocked bar to my right, and I expect you all to enjoy that. And, of course, use the opportunity to chat and engage and mingle and talk to people that you haven't seen for a bit. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with Mr. Gattin. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
When I'm on good, he good, and when I'm on great, he great, so that I show him how much we really appreciate the kind of thrills that he gave us, the many, many, many times he saved us with ingenious bowling and exciting, glorious batting. Gary Sobers, when you call his name, you are speaking about the maestro of the cricket game. Be proud of his great West Indian bowling dynasty. He's the greatest cricketer the world has ever seen. He's the greatest cricketer the world has ever seen. In any sport at all, anything to do with a ball, yes, you will agree this man has natural ability. So words when you call his name. He's the one and only. He's the maestro of the cricket team. Be proud of his great West Indian, hold him in esteem. He's the greatest cricketer the world has ever seen. Oh, he's the greatest cricketer the world has ever seen. Now listen, no man is an island. This we must agree. Anyone can make mistakes, even the great Gary. But look at the times he saved us, the many great innings he gave us. One day you will find he was a legend in his own time. Yeah, Gary Sobers, when you